Hello, my name is Sam Holmstock, and I am a Berklee grad, 78, and since then I've had a 50-year career as a performer, 20 of those with a regional band called N-Train from New England. I am a certified Remo Health Rhythms facilitator, and I'm currently on the faculty of Katuitt Center for the Arts here on Cape Cod, where I run a class for PTSD vets called Drumming Through Trauma. I'm also a program coordinator for uh, an arts program for teens involved in the juvenile justice system. And I do various things for an organization called Cape Cod Can, who provides outreach arts activities for the neurodiverse communities of Cape Cod. My current residencies include Nauset Academy, which is a residential DYS facility, the May Institute, which has a day hab for uh, autistic adults and other neurodiversities, as it were, but mainly autistic adults. The Cape Cod Collaborative School, I have a weekly session there, and they um, serve children with all developmental disabilities. Um, and the Cape Cod Village for Developmental Disabilities is another weekly thing that I do, and that is mostly autistic adults. And I also do a thing at Chip's House, which is a residence for uh, people with acquired brain injury. Um, I also work with the Alzheimer's Family Support Center here in Hyannis on the Cape, and I rotate among 5 or 6 different nursing homes every week, uh, working with memory impaired folks. So, Drum Strategies for Healing is my brand, so to speak, and I just try to make rhythm and music accessible to um, the different neurodiverse communities of Cape Cod, and it's been kind of a natural progression for me. Somehow, I went from being a rock star to just somebody called me up and said, "Hey, would you bring your drums down?" And so, of course, I did, and uh, so that's enough about me. And so, what does drumming do for your body? Okay, this is a long list of great stuff. It improves circulation because you're moving your arms and you're, you know, thinking about stuff. And you know, there are a lot of redundancies here. It reduces tension. It calms the nervous system. It neutralizes anxiety, which is a huge thing. Neutralizing anxiety for neurodiverse populations is really important because they live almost in a constant state of anxiety because you know, they want to be included and they want to fit in. They don't want to make mistakes. They just, so there's a lot of anxiety for them. So drumming gets neurotransmitters pumping like crazy. Okay, good the feel good neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, norepinephrine, and oxytocin. And so, uh, after a session, everybody's pretty relaxed, as it were. Of course, they often have to move on to the next thing or whatever, so they don't necessarily have a whole lot of time to enjoy it. And it does increase immunity. There are studies that show that it increases your body's production of killer T cells. So it's very, it's boosting the immunity whenever you're drumming or you're in a regular practice of drumming. Lowers blood pressure, and it does improve motor skills because you're learning new rhythms, and and of course it relieves chronic pain because it also induces the production of endorphins, and endorphins are a very powerful opioid. It's just that um, they don't your brain regulates it very strictly. You either have to drum a lot or you have to run a marathon or something extraordinary to get your um, endorphins pumping, so to speak. Burns a few calories. And of course, again, it lowers stress, increases cardiovascular health. And, you know, like I said before, it neutralizes anxiety. Um, and so that's kind of what really makes a huge difference with the folks that I work with. What does it do for your mind? Well, certainly it improves mindfulness because if you're learning new rhythms, you're focused on them, and if you're playing them over and over again, you want to make sure that you're, you know, thinking about them. It does increase mental strength as you learn new things, and it improves concentration, creates a bit of a peace of mind. Again, back to the neurotransmitters. Totally enhances creativity. People start making up their own rhythms, and they want to play them with the group. Of course, it improves memory. One important thing that, well, let me skip over that. It sharpens mental awareness, enhances mental clarity, increases self acceptance, because now increasing self acceptance. Now, um, of course, I hear a lot about rubrics, so to speak. So if I have a rubric, it is there's a right way to drum and a righter way to drum. That is my rubric. So anything that people do, even if it's just this, is fabulous because this motion unto itself balances the hemispheres of the brain and balances the whole brain and trains the the brain waves with the body rhythms, and so the whole self-acceptance thing is really important when I'm working with folks who are neurodiverse. Uh, it quiets mental chatter. It hasn't helped me with that, that's for sure. And it, like I just said, it balances the brain hemispheres, improves brain function in so many ways. And let's see. And of course, there are huge social benefits. Um, People get together, it creates community. I have one class where some of the participants get together and go out to dinner before the class, or they go after the class. It's great. They think of, they care about each other. They communicate with one another, and of course, for younger folks, it encourages reciprocity, the call and response type of thing. Gives everybody a turn to either call out a song they want to sing or a rhythm they want to play, or something like that. And of course, it builds nonverbal communication. And so often, the people that are in my groups are nonverbal in the first place. So they hear rhythms that uh, uh, they recognize. Take for instance, now in traditional African drumming, there is always a signal that usually indicates you either start or stop, or if there are dancers present, that means the dancers go on to the next phrase. But the important thing is the phrase. Now, when I started this, I was working with elders who had memory impairment, but the one phrase they knew, and I could get a room full of people to stop on a dime by using this phrase, and the phrase is shave and the hair cut to beds, and the room is quiet. It's just unbelievable. I do use word phrases because simple concept, if you can say it, you can play it. Okay, so it makes it a lot easier for people to get in the groove instead of learning some new complicated rhythm. Now, I use those word phrases almost with every class, but more so with folks that are either memory impaired or autistic or have some other developmental disability, because it just connects them with the rhythm so much faster. I use those word phrases with groups that aren't like PTSD vets. They've had a whole life of sort of neurotypical behavior. So they understand that, they sort of know how to function better in a more neurotypical situation. So I challenge them with rhythms like African rhythms, but I still try to use the word phrases to help them learn in a more oral tradition, so to speak, as opposed to writing it out somehow. Sometimes that works, but I certainly don't use orthodox notation. I just use letters and such. So this also inspires perseverance and of course engagement. Huge thing. Get everybody engaged. That's like, you know, that's Whoops, sorry about that. This is something that I will post uh, in the Google Docs. And let's see. Oh, I don't know what that is, but I'm just going to click it closed. Anyway, um, so that being said, so the evolution, I've already started talking about the evolution of this process. Individuals need to be free to participate in drumming on their own terms, whether it's a group of autistic adults who have never done anything like this before. And so, like I said, there's a right way to drum and there's a righter way to drum. They they have to be at ease and they have to be comfortable in order to decrease their anxiety and become fully engaged. It's kind of like one hand rubs the other, so to speak. It's this engagement and pure enjoyment of the drumming that facilitates the benefits, the neurotransmitters, the relaxation, the lessening of the anxiety. So adapting to the group and the individuals within the group is key, and this requires flexibility on my part and the ability to shift things as we need it. Now, with the older folks that I work with that are memory impaired, I use sticks because sticks kind of take the actually, I want to introduce the drum that I use here. Okay, this is a Remo product. Okay, and it is called a rhythm lid. Okay, I don't always love the sound, but the people in my groups don't care at all. So this is a 13-inch head. It pops on and off real easy, and it fits on any 5 or 7 gallon bucket. Okay, and I use 7 gallon buckets because I get a little bit more height. Okay, so that being said, with the elders, I use sticks like this. I created these myself. This is basically a cymbal pad that you put a cymbal on in a drum set. So, and of course, this is adapted for folks who can't grasp, the brain injured folks. The brain injured folks that I work with are all one handed, they're all in wheelchairs, and a couple of them are two handed. But so they have trouble grasping, so I put this pad on here so that they could grasp. And this also, this mallet situation does help keep the sound level down for those who are, um, sensitive to that. And so the one beauty of these rhythm lids and the buckets is I can go anywhere, and in one trip I can get 20 drums into a room and everybody's drumming. I don't have to make 10 trips into the, and especially if it's a memory care situation and people are, those doors are locked, so you have to have them opened every time you come in the room. So I narrowed it down to one trip, and that's the beauty of these rhythm lids. They are pretty fabulous in that way. They're a little bit pricey for what they are, but they are so worth it. And they're not always this. There are generations of these things that they've created over the past whatever 10 years, and like the first generation. This is a first generation head, is fabulous, easy to get on and off. Everything is great. But there's another generation comes after that that's a little bit thinner, warps every time. I don't know why they warp. I've tried everything, and whatever. Just be aware that and as far as drums are concerned, it is a really cost-effective thing for sure. The head and the bucket. Sometimes the buckets can be had for free, and um, again, you can get these rhythm lids on various websites, West Music, Amazon, everything, all kinds of drum websites. And I haven't been looking at the clock, so I don't know about the time. But I've told you about my rubric, and let me just play a couple of rhythms with the sticks. So So if you want to keep it simple, again, I start everybody playing shave and the haircut, 2 bits. Just do that over and again, like, maybe 10 times to get them used to it. And then when you do it again, okay, we're doing another rhythm. It's just really simple. Row, row, row your boat. We're doing this. Play it a few times. Well, play it a lot. And at the end, shave and haircut, 2 bits. And everybody gets it. They know that when you click your sticks, you are done for sure. So, and again, developing the rhythms, any word phrase that has any kind of rhythmic quality to it is fair game. I made a whole bunch up, and then of course the other thing that I do, especially with the elders, is I get them just playing a straight beat and singing at the same time. Every song that they love. You are my sunshine. When you're smiling. Take me out to the ball game. There's just a million of them, and they love them all. And there's some groups that they want to hear pop stuff that's current or stuff that they hear on the radio. So again, adaptation. You know, if they don't get what they want, they don't really want to do it. So it's and I think it's important for them to do it, even if it's just a weekly activity that they think is kind of entertaining. So, drum strategies for healing. Uh, it's what I do, and it's actually for those who are interested. It's become a living, because you know all the sort of institutions on the Cape, they want it. They Kennedy Donovan, the May Institute, they all want it. Can't always afford it, but then if it's I feel like it's could be an ongoing thing, I'll go after money, from the state or whoever has money that they're offering, and I have no problem writing a grant. So um, let me just play a few more rhythms. So row, row, row your boat. How about great minds think alike? So basic. Great minds think alike. And some people can play it and some people can't, but they always try. They always get you know, the hands going. So that's the important thing. Again, there's a million great rhythms. And this is a rhythm, but it's more of a groove, I guess you could say, and it's just a positive, um, accentuate the positive, accentuate the positive. And what I'm finding is I try to let these rhythms go on and on for anywhere from at least 1 minute, which can sometimes seem like a lot, or longer. And the longer I can keep their attention, the more benefit they get from the neurotransmitters and the endorphins. The longer I can keep it going, it's it's great. And now back to the Remo health rhythms. I took that class, and when I did, that's an extremely effective therapeutic tool, just extremely effective. But I found that the groups I was working with just weren't having it. They just, for whatever reason, they didn't like it. They didn't, they just wanted to play rhythms and drum and sing songs and drum. And so I have nothing against uh, the Remo health rhythms. I think it's fabulous. It's just not useful for me, especially with the teens I work with that are involved in the juvenile justice system. They're all hip hop stars in their head, so I have to go there. I have to meet them there, and sometimes that means no drumming at all, but working on the computer and creating beats and recording their rap and everything like that. So it sort of has encompassed quite a few different worlds, so to speak. Uh, but it always comes back to the drumming. They do another beautiful thing about the buckets and the rhythm lids is that you can turn the bucket upside down, and you've got street drumming, which they love because they love to call it street drumming, because they're bad, they're really bad. And So, but bucket drumming, and there's so many resources for bucket drumming out there on YouTube and every place else. Really, a lot of people have developed that in a great way, and there are pieces that you can teach people and get them playing, and almost it's led to some performances for some of my autistic kids that you know, or my teens at risk. They like to show off once they learn something. So and of course, performance. God, that is so therapeutic for uh, for a lot of these people, for sure. And they get an opportunity to perform pretty frequently with the organization Cape Cod Can that I work with. They have holiday shows and spring shows, and they just get people out there doing their thing, singing and dancing and playing drums as well. So um, I hate to ask for the time. Okay, great.